The Life Death Tempest Trials is coming to a conclusion and will accompany this year's winter banner. As usual, if you score the maximum 50,000 points, you can earn up to 42 orbs, 11,000 feathers, and 80 sacred coins. This month you can earn Ephemera 12 divine codes, and you can get a Wind and Dark Blessing for Legendary Veronica and Mythic Emblem. For sacred seals, we have Spur, Speed, and Defense, and Guard. The reward unit for this time is going to be Winter Bruno, back from the dead. You can earn a 4-star and 5-star copy. We'll talk about him more later on. Before upgrading any Sacred Seals, keep in mind this is the first of 3 Tempest Trials events that will happen in the next month. We got a lot of grinding coming, but that also means 6 new Sacred Seals. May want to keep some Sacred Coins on hand. For this month, we got Spur, Speed, and Defense 2, grants +3 speed and defense to adjacent allies during combat. I believe this is the last dual Spur Sacred Seal combination, so we can check that off the list. Those spurs aren't terrible, but a lot of buffing situations like the 2-space range of drive type buffs. That said, save skills work with spurs, so you can buff armor allies with these if you want. You can get the C-skill version from Oscar, who is a demote unit. You can stack those if you really want, +6 speed and defense. Not a very insane Sacred Seal by any means, but if you like spurs, then here's another variant. It will only cost 100 Sacred Coins to upgrade as well. Onto the next Sacred Seal is Guard 3, which should have been in the game a hell of a long time ago. At least it's here now. At start of combat, if unit's HP is greater than 80%, inflict special cooldown charge +1 to the foe per attack. The Guard B skill itself has forever been a tough sell since the B slot has so many other game-changing effects. It actually is a decent Sacred Seal if you need Guard. However, with nearly every strong attacker having no Guard or bonus cooldown reduction effects, Guard as a seal is a lot less exciting. If it was released when Quicker Post first entered the seal slot, then yeah, at that time would have been a lot more prevalent. There were way less good stat boosting effects as well. One major issue with the Guard skill is that the high 80% HP threshold, like Quicker Post, it may just be a one and done skill, which is fine for winning one fight, but if you depend on Guard long term, then that's no good. An example where this is okay is on units who can double in some way. Guard is a great effect when initiating because it can deny the very common Breath type instant special retaliations. A lot of tanks can tank a hit with steady Breath type cooldown and counter instantly with things like Bonfire. That can easily lead to a one-shot KO, but Guard delays that special, giving the attacker a chance to finish off the kill on their follow-up. This scenario is pretty relevant to powerful units like Brave Erica. Erica generally needs to get to her follow-up attack, which is also how she procs her special, and that's how she gets her huge true damage burst. She has 30% damage reduction to tank a counterattack, but that isn't always enough if the foe procs a Bonfire or let's say a scary Black Luna. Now, Erica can use the Guard Sacred Seal to get damage reduction and Guard at the same time. The trade-off depends on if you need more stats in that seal slot. Sure, Erica can now delay Black Knight's Black Luna proc, but does she have enough speed to double him? I don't know. Even though no Guard and Tempo are becoming more and more common, the Guard effect is still a strong ability. You can definitely still find use for this Sacred Seal.
I will be your lance.
I am not hiding. I am simply waiting for Alphonse to pass. This is for Veronica. In truth, I do not know if she will like it.
The reward unit for this year is Winter Bruno. If you have seen those chibi playoff skits Faye has put out, then you could say this has been teased beforehand. Zacharias isn't changing up his host style this time, he's just put on the Santa hat. He's going to be a green armored mage and is our first free armored mage as well. This just isn't a class type in the main Fire Emblem games, and Engage doesn't seem to be adding armored mages either, so Winter Bruno may be our only free option for quite a while. There are not a lot of armored mages in general, so he's definitely a unique reward unit. For stats, Bruno has 43 HP, 41 attack, 38 speed, 29 defense, and 34 res. He has an attack super boon, which is great, but most people were surprised to see this guy have some speed at all to work with. 38 base speed is quite impressive for armies in general, and many ranged armors are mostly really slow. Bruno does sacrifice defensive points to achieve this though, so don't expect him to be a super tank. He does have an inheritable tome, the Peppy Cane Plus. I thought Annette's Peppy Bow was more about how Annette herself is a bit of a peppy upbeat character, but she does shoot a candy cane arrow. I wouldn't say Bruno's peppy himself, but he has a whole peppermint candy cane with him. This tome is actually not too bad, 12 might, and if the user has more than 25% HP, you inflict -5 attack and res on the foe, and foe cannot make a follow-up attack. Same effect as Annette's bow, just with res debuffs. Peppy Cane Plus is one of the better defensive options and up there with Valentine's Alphonse's Amity Blooms Plus. Both of them inflict -5 attack and res, and Amity Blooms heals 4 HP per hit instead of preventing a follow-up. If you want a defensive green tome, then Winter Bruno is free, while Valentine's Alphonse is a 4-star focusing you gotta summon for. Should be kinda obvious, but Peppy Kane isn't insane by any means. It's decent because there's just not a lot of other inheritable tome options, but everyone is now just waiting for arcane weapons. We got an arcane red tome, so arcane green tome is possible. It's just gonna be a waiting game. Back to Bruno's base kit, well, it's something. Reciprocal aid to swap HP with an ally. He then has Fury 3 for +3 stats at the cost of 6 recoil damage. Last, threat attack and res 2, influx -4 attack and res on all foes within 2 spaces. Doesn't even cover the full attack range of a 1 movement ranged army unit. Bit of a throwaway kit if we're being honest. They could have thrown in another ideal A skill or maybe something like Odd or even follow up. Fury isn't that bad since Bruno has some speed, but Peppy Kane has an HP condition, so not the best long-term skill. I guess you can swap HP with an ally when you get low, but eh. Threat attack and res 2 is not very exciting either. Its main usage is really just to be a stepping stone to inherent attack and res menace. Overall though, decent weapon, kinda horrendous base kit, nothing really rare in the slightest there. If you plan to merge Bruno up, the Neutral Nature will net him +1 HP, attack, and speed. I would say that's fine to keep. If you want to spend trait fruits, you can get the attack super boon, but maybe you might want to invest in more speed. Speed is going to make Bruno stand out quite a bit, although he's already a super rare unit type. There are only 3 other green armor mages in the whole game, all of them seasonal because iron mages are just not a regular Fire Emblem class. Even Edelgard, who has a budding talent in magic, can't use magic in her unique armored classes. As mentioned earlier, Winter Bruno is the only free armored mage, and we may not get one for a while. For his own color, Bruno does stand out as the fastest. Next closest would be Halloween Henry. Valentine's Alphonse actually comes in at 5th highest speed for armored mages at a blistering 25 base. The only other fast armored mages in the game are Winter Nino, who's the fastest, and then Valentine's Lyn. Bruno does not have a ton of competition in general, and no competition as a heroic grail unit. These are some pretty old units, so let's just look at some full Dragonflower investment. Bruno does get +1 across the board himself. You can see that Henry will catch up and have way more res, but Bruno has more HP and attack. Nino starts to pull way ahead, and Lyn does get a nice boost, although Bruno's base attack is pretty high to start with. The main thing though is that all of these are limited time units you need to summon for. None of them have unique tomes. Bruno can be merged with heroic grails. He's in a pretty interesting position, especially once the arcane green tome does come in. Depending on what that tome actually does and how strong future tier 4 armor skills become, Winter Bruno could be a fun merge project. With that said, let's discuss some build ideas. For basic budget builds, Peppy Kane is pretty good to keep. Bruno can focus on his higher base speed to get his own doubles, and you get defensive bulk and follow-up denial with the weapon. He'll at least stop slower foes who depend on free follow-up attacks. Not exactly budget, but technically free are the various armor B skills from Ephemeral Comic Manuals. This month there is Even Follow-Up and Vengeful Fighter. In the past we had Bold Fighter and Special Fighter as well. Even Follow-Up isn't the best with Peppy Kane and Bruno's faster speed, but technically free follow-up denial does stack. It's just that no follow-up negates all of them. As for the free follow-up attack, that can let Bruno push past enemy follow-up denial and double with his own speed. You could run a breaker skill, but that targets one weapon type. Even follow-up works on all weapon types, but it's only every other turn. If you do go this route, you could keep Fury and try to stack more speed skills. Odd Speed Wave, Tag Speed Form, Swift Sparrow, Tag Speed Bond. Bold Fighter can be used for pure player phase power. With Vengeful Fighter, you can get Omni Breaker on the enemy phase plus some cooldown. That could work with more defensive builds that stack defense or res. Personally, if you want to try any type of offensive speed build, I do think you want Armor March or Armored Boots. Kinda tough to be annoying if you can't get to the action. With that said, let's discuss some premium skills for speed builds. The Picnic Felicia Ephemeral had Special Fighter 3. But the tier 4 from Winter Black Knight gives Bruno healing capabilities. If Bruno can double, he can charge and unleash Glacies or Ignis. If you want a 2 cooldown special, you can use Ruptured Sky, Glimmer, or Moonbow. Either way, Bruno would add some sustain on top of the guard effect, plus Peppy Kane's follow-up denial. Sure, meta attackers can blow right by this, but anyone unprepared will struggle. That's basically why Special Fighter was so powerful in the past. There just wasn't enough firepower to overwhelm army unit stats, and no guard didn't really exist. Winter Black Knight is scary because he's incredibly fast, and not finishing him off quickly ends in Black Luna going off. Bruno doesn't have that kind of trump card, but you can still try to make it work with things like Attack and Speed Ideal, Attack and Speed Menace. Again, ideally you want bonus movement if you're going to be, or if you're not going to be going for a safe route. Speaking of which though, you can try to make fire save work, but like we discussed with the Black Knight on the banner, green is not in a great spot for fire saving. Dual Chrom can charge Deadeye with his armor effectiveness, Legendary Veronica can pierce DR, Rearmed Ophelia just handed every high attack red mage the ability to nuke and pierce DR with Special Spiral 4. It's a bit of a problem when you can't use Hardy Fighter. You can try the traditional pure enemy phase builds with things like dual stances, fighter skills, distant defense 4, but another option is Savvy Fighter. This will give Bruno damage reduction and no follow-up, but you're going to need to crank up that speed. Honestly, it would be another pretty annoying build, kind of like Special Fighter. Since Bruno is free and people can get those extra merges, maybe we'll see some really wild invested builds. You want to run close counter? Go ahead, I cannot stop you. The next month is going to be crazy for banners and summoning, ending with most likely the start of the Fire Emblem Engage cast rolling in. You 100% want to be doing all the Tempest Trials grinding for these orbs. You may also want to hold on to your sacred coins because we have 4 more sacred seals coming in less than a month. This event seals are okay, but it ain't no distant counter type hype. Guard can be useful, but it's made a very late entry. It would have been way more exciting like 3 or 4 years ago. As for Winter Bruno, he is our first ever free armored mage, most likely maybe the only free one for quite a while, and even then it's not like a lot of competition exists in general. He has a higher speed stat which makes him quite unique already, and the Peppy Cane ain't a bad defensive inheritable tome. If you can't get Valentine's Alphonse's weapon, this is a good replacement. That brings us back to the topic we already mentioned earlier. Free Armored Mage is an interesting spot to be in when a future Arcane Green Tome appears. Armored units have access to some powerful B skills and save skills despite the current situation. We may also start to see more tier 4 fighter skills like Special Fighter 4. An Arcane Weapon and tier 4 armor skill can drastically change Winter Bruno's playstyle. We just have no idea when or if that will happen. At the moment, Bruno is left in an awkward spot. Does not really have the best save options, which is kind of the meta playstyle at the moment, but things could turn around one day. If you are indie waiting for an Arcane Tome club, then you may be here for a while. I said before that I don't think the Engage banners will have rearmed heroes because they are brand new. Who would you quote unquote rearm? Well, I thought about it more, and actually the entire engaging with emblem characters mechanic would fit the rearmed idea. They literally share weapons and skills with the user, and you can engage with any character too. I'm calling it now, the Engage banners will have a rearmed hero that is just a character in the engaged fusion form. I can already see it. We're going to get one of the Alirs as normal, and the other one's going to be engaged with Marth, looking all crazy and stuff. I need to stop myself, way too hyped for Engage to launch. That'll be it for this video. Go grab all the Tempest rewards and don't let Bruno know what happens in book 6. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.